Ready to go on the recording side?
Let's give it 3 seconds.
Sure.
Good.
Okay, I'm going to call to order the July 6, 2021 Planning Commission meeting, and I'm going to go ahead and take roll call. Commissioner Labange.
Present.
Commissioner Strum.
Present.
Vice Chair Radnich.
Present.
And Chair Farzan present, and Commissioners Heisink, Maggio, and Mason are excused for tonight's meeting. Do we have any public comments for things not on tonight's agenda or an upcoming agenda?
Did you want to note that is Commissioner Mason hasn't been excused absence, or is recusing himself?
It's a good point. I guess we should. Do you want me to make that? Thank you very much. You want me to make that clear, Greg, on the record?
That's fine.
Yeah,
please do.
And yeah, thank you very much for that note. So Commissioner Mason has recused himself because we have one new public hearing, and he is a patient at the applicant today, so he has recused himself. So he is excused, but for that reason. The other two are on vacation, so we can move forward on that. But thank you for that reminder. Moving on to item number 4, the consent calendar. I guess before we move on to that, does anybody have any changes, revisions to the June 7th, 2021 draft meeting minutes? I did not. With that in mind, does somebody want to move on the consent calendar?
I move that we adopt a consent calendar.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And a third. So we'll go ahead and take a vote on that. Commissioner Labange?
Aye.
Commissioner Strum?
Aye.
Vice Chair Radnich?
Aye.
And Chair Farzan? Aye. Okay, with that, we do not have any continued public hearings, so we will move to item number 6 on new public hearings for 6A L01-21 I Physicians of the East Bay, the applicant, and it's a request for a land use permit to allow the conditional use of a medical office at the existing commercial building at 3685 Mount Diablo Boulevard. Do we have a staff report?
I am here.
All right, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. Nancy Tran, Planning Department staff. The item before you is land use application L01-21 for medical service use at 385 Mount Diablo Boulevard, Suite 100. The subject location is located adjacent to City Hall. It's zoned general commercial and within the West End District as identified in the downtown specific plan. It's located on the first floor of the 3-story office building known as Desco Plaza 1. The applicant, I Physicians of the East Bay, seeks to establish medical service use for its existing ophthalmology practice, which has been operating in the subject tenant space since 2018 as general personal service, a by right use. Permitting the proposed use will enhance the scope of services offered, allowing the applicant to provide comprehensive eye care. The medical use would allow the applicant to provide more medical treatments, which include minor surgical care, such as injections or the excision of skin or eyelid lesions per their application. No interior or exterior tenant improvements are proposed. Additional vehicle trips are not anticipated, and the new use will not have impacts to existing infrastructure or city services. The operational characteristics of the proposal are consistent with nearby uses and will not detract from the character of the area. Staff received no public comment regarding the application, and staff can make all findings and recommends finding the project exempt from CEQA and approval with conditions. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions.
Unmuted, thank you. Do we have any questions for Nancy?
I tried to think of some, but I like
That's-
asking questions. Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. I actually have one question, just to make sure I understand this. This land use would be going just to this applicant, or would it be for the space in the building? Because I'm just trying to understand, if the applicant moves out of this at some future date, does that land use stay with the building or with the applicant? The change?
I'm not sure. Greg, can you answer that? Usually it's with the property, but since it's subject spaces, I'm not sure.
That's the reason I was wondering. You're on mute, Greg.
Wouldn't be a Zoom meeting otherwise. It would run with the land and
Okay.
forthcoming zoning, so general plan and downtown specific plan envision liberalizing the overall category of office and to allow included medical office. So this would be consistent with that. And so irrespective of that policy change, which will be promulgated through the zoning update, an entitlement under a land use permit would run with the land, even if it sells or the business were to sell, provided that they've made good faith efforts to perfect it and put it into operation. So it couldn't just be approved and then nothing happens for years and then they take action.
Thank you. That helps clarify for me. Thank you very much. That's the only question that I had. I'm sorry, Commissioner LaBonge? Or maybe not. Yes.
I was just wondering, why couldn't this have been handled with the ARC meeting? It seems like it could have been handled. I'm just curious, is there a threshold that, or just an easy explanation? Nancy?
It's a land use permit, and that's under the purview of the planning commission.
Even this minor? Okay, it just seems like. All right, that's my question.
Thank you. Do we have an applicant for this speaking, or I'm?
Stephen Pascal has joined the meeting. Bring him in.
Yeah, please.
Nancy, that's who I should bring in.
Yes, there's Dr. Pascal and Dr. Wang.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Pascal, the floor, so to speak, is yours.
Oh, thank you. Well, we have an ophthalmology practice in Lafayette, and we would like to be able to continue to provide some of the medical services that we also provide in our Oakland office. In other words, minor procedures, draining of styes, etc., for eyelids. And we think this is something that would, fit well in the community and would not create any additional burden or hardship on the area.
Great, thank you. Anything else you'd like to add?
Our application, I think, is fairly complete in terms of we will take care to abide by all of the appropriate OSHA requirements for disposal of any medical waste, which will be minimal, and it will allow us to provide a broader scope of practice in the area. There are other medical, surgical, plastic, surgical practitioners within a couple blocks of us, so it's not a major change from what's already available in the area.
Thank you. Any commissioners' questions for Dr. Pascal? All right. We will. Do we have any public comments? I think the answer is no, but I'm going to ask. You're on mute again.
Correct. There are no members of the public in attendance.
So Dr. Pascal, this is the time we'd give it back to you to rebut anything. Since there's nothing to rebut, I'm assuming you're going to stand on your presentation.
Absolutely. Thank you.
But thank you very much. With that, I'll bring it back to the commission. Thank you.
I'd like to make a
I'll-
recommendation.
Please.
Unless anyone wants to discuss anymore, I recommend we find a project categorically exempt from CEQA. We adopt Planning Commission Resolution 2021-06, approving the application subject to conditions.
I second that motion.
Okay, thank you. With that, I will take the vote. First up, Commissioner Labange,
Aye.
Commissioner Strom,
Aye.
Vice Chair Radnich,
Aye.
and Chair Farzan. Aye. So we have 4-0 vote on this, and there's 14 days to appeal to the City Council. Thank you, Nancy. Sorry, please.
No, it's okay. I thought Nancy was out on maternity leave a while ago, so I was going to say congratulations.
Oh, well, I did not know that. Congratulations. She's smiling too much. Obviously, it's been sleeping too much.
Yeah, Nancy, you don't
No.
look tired. I was
No,
wondering.
I was going to say, wow.
How old is your baby?
Lighting, 6 months.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
You have a boy or a girl?
A girl.
Congratulations.
Congrats. Okay. Number 7, any other business? I think the answer is no. Sorry, I'm moving this a little faster, so please, anybody can cut me off. Do we have any commissioners' reports?
I have one for GPAC.
Great.
So last Wednesday, there was a 4-hour open house. It was held at the library, and members of the public were able to come, provide their thoughts on the housing element, the general plan update in general, they're able to get information on, but we're kind of focusing on the housing element. There were different stations set up. I think there were somewhere between 35 and 40 members of the public that came through over that 4-hour period. And I think just the general message, though, is still tell your friends, use the website, planlafayette.org. A lot of the information that was presented, there were different stations with boards and different interactive, I'll just say, live versions of the online tools, but a lot of the material was taken, as Renata said, like directly from the Plan Lafayette website. So for anyone who may have missed it, just you can still access everything on planlafayette.org and still encourage anyone you come across to provide input.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So the next meeting will be, so we're back to one meeting a month. It's the third Tuesday of every month. If anybody in communication can pass that out too. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, I'll say the same thing I said during the last meeting. I am seeing more people, at least online, talking about it and passing information along on the meetings, particularly on Facebook. I think different groups are kind of advertising it and people are getting more involved in it, which I think is great. The more, the merrier. Any other commissioners? Commissioner Labange?
This isn't an official report, but my wife and I went to the Taste of the Town a few weeks ago. That was awesome. And I ran into some staff, some who I had never met in person before. And I ran into some council members, and it just reminded me of the wonderful small town that we live in. So I just thought I'd share that, but it was really nice.
That's awesome. I forgot what day it was. I was driving back and I noticed people with the badges on. So I thought it was like a medical conference. That's what I'm used to. And I didn't realize that's what was going on. It went right over my head.
You should have seen the smiles. That would have told you it wasn't medical.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you for sharing that. Planning director's report.
The one item I wanted to update you on was the RENA allocation. So on the June 14th and June 28th city council meetings, staff provided reports on the status of the RENA allocations. They have remained unchanged from the preliminary allocation, which was increased from 1,660 at the end of last year to 2,114, essentially the beginning of this year. As a function, the methodology did not change, but the baseline on which that methodology is applied, which is Plan Bay Area 2050 future households. There were 10 additional strategies implemented in Plan Bay Area 2050 to essentially achieve greenhouse gas targets, greenhouse gas reduction targets, as well as additional strategies to put more new housing in areas with high resources. And Lafayette is both a high resource area as well as we have a BART station, so proximity to transit. So that's both the three factors in the RENA allocation: proximity to jobs via vehicles for upper income levels, proximity to job by transit in the lower income categories, and access to high opportunity areas. So those are the three factors, and the only three factors that apply in the RENA allocation. And then those same themes were reinforced in the planning document, which is Plan Bay Area 2050, when it was finalized in December by the executive board. So we had anticipated 2114, and in April 25th, ABAG did make that draft allocation formalized. So that opened up the appeal period, which closes on July 9. So we briefed the council, and on the 14th, they said, please go ahead and prepare a draft appeal and we'll consider it. And then on the 28th, the council did authorize staff to submit an appeal. Between those dates, a subcommittee of Mayor Kandel and Councilmember Dawson, Diana Elrod and I met with ABAG staff, and they were very helpful. Dave Vaughton and Oxel were very helpful in helping us collectively understand the lengthy multi-year process, Plan Bay Area being the beginning of that, and then the tail end of it being the RENA allocation. And it's our understanding that the Plan Bay Area growth geographies, where growth is anticipated to occur, or where growth would appropriately be directed as the Bay Area grows, prioritize proximity to transit, as well as high opportunity areas, not surprisingly, high resource areas, same terminology. And when those additional strategies were added at the end of last year, one of the strategies was making public lands available for housing, or housing on public lands. And so it's our understanding that the BART station in the earlier iteration before the end of last year was excluded from the growth geographies, because the growth geographies, albeit the BART station is within, the parking lots are within half a mile of BART. They're also in a very high fire hazard severity zone. So the mapping or the development of the growth geographies excluded high fire hazard zones. Our understanding is when those additional 10 strategies went in and making housing on public lands, the BART parking lots went back in, and irrespective of whether those lands were in a high fire hazard area. So that is one of the primary basis for the appeal.
Right, and what's the timing on said appeal?
So it is due July 9.
Right.
There's an mid-August to late August deadline for comments on the appeals which are submitted. And then I think it's September, October are the hearings on the appeals, and then the arena allocation would be formalized and finalized by the end of the year.
And who hears the appeal? Just generally speaking, what body? Is it the same body that hears the appeal?
I believe it to, I don't know if there's a precursor body, but certainly one would imagine it would be appealed, could be appealed up to the executive board. So it may just be the executive board.
It's quite the due process of having the same entity that made the decision also hear the appeal, but that's just my personal experience. It's an interesting dynamic. Commissioner Strom?
So what is the basis of the argument for the appeal? I understand, I followed what you were saying in terms of the concerns about the fire hazard severity zone, but construction is allowed as long as you meet requirements. So what's the argument that the city is making?
It is true that there's no prohibition on building in a very high fire hazard severity zone, but certainly recent activities, as far as the state is concerned, filing suits against jurisdictions that are approving housing in very high fire hazard severity zones is indicative of that is high fire hazard zones are not the place to be placing additional housing, notwithstanding that, you know, it would be permitted and mitigated to the degree possible, right? So new fire hazard maps are pending, and probably in the next quarter will be issued. We believe that there will be an expansion of fire zones, they won't be static or be smaller in any way. So by ABAG's own thinking and policy of developing growth geographies that are outside or do not include high fire hazard zones, and similarly other natural hazards like unmitigated sea level rise, they would not foresee placing additional growth in those areas. If there were kind of known or projected mitigations that, again, sea level rise, for instance, they would be included those areas. But based on kind of ABAG's and Plan Bay Area's own thesis around where growth should occur, we believe that the secondary action of adding in the additional strategies which provide for housing on public lands is directly in conflict with the earlier policy and where growth should occur. So that's the basis.
Thank you.
Commissioner Labange?
Is the appeal a public document?
It will be. The draft is on the website at the council's last meeting, so that's available, and it will be just modified slightly.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Greg? Thank you. That was a great update. Trying to follow that closely, but that's good to kind of catch up on that. With that,
Well, Chair.
oh, I'm sorry, please.
Can I just
Yes.
ask an unrelated question to Greg? Is there an update on Councilmember Burke's announcement and the plan forward for replacing or finding a new council member?
Yes, I believe on this upcoming July 12th meeting, there will be a staff report. I think the city attorney will provide guidance on what the city council's adopted policy is on filling a vacancy in the middle of a term, essentially. And so my understanding is the city clerk will be advertising the vacancy. the open seat, soliciting applicants to submit. And then the council members would conduct interviews and then make an appointment in August. Subject to my recollection not being spot on, but I think that's that process moving forward.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I'm gonna just leave it open here for a second. All right, I think with that, we're done and I will adjourn the meeting. Have a great rest of the week. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.